Okay. Welcome everyone to the 1st of June, already 2021, Sustainability Advisory Committee meeting at 7 o'clock, or 7:03 now. Just quickly want to just say a couple of apologies of people unable to attend the meeting. We've had Chris Zinmont unable to attend, Adam and Nina, unfortunately, three of them committee members unable to attend. So before we get started, just need to read out the official paragraph from the town. So as chair of the Sustainability Advisory Committee, I find that due to the state of emergency declared by the governor as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic and in accordance with the governor's emergency order number 12, this public body is authorized to meet electronically. Public notice of this meeting was posted on the town website. As provided in that public notice, the public may access the meeting online and via the phone. The usual rules of conduct and decorum continue to apply. Please note that all votes taken during the meeting shall be done by roll call vote. I will start the meeting by taking a roll call attendance. When each member states their presence, please also state whether there is anyone in the room with you during the meeting, and if so, who that person is as required under the right to know law. So I'll just say I'm Chetna Palmer, chair of the Systemic Committee, and I'm alone in the room. Bev?
Bev Chapman, I am alone.
Jackie?
I'm Jackie Ojala, and I'm alone in the room.
Nico?
Good evening. I'm Nico Papakostendis. I'm the select board rep to the committee, and I'm here alone in the room.
Dave?
Dave Sharples, town planner, and I'm in the room alone.
Kristen?
Hello, Kristen Osterwood, and I am not alone. I have husband and children.
Okay, so welcome everyone. Just first we'll go to whether to approve the minutes of our last meeting on the 4th of May, which were attached to the agenda. Any comments, thoughts, changes from anyone? May I ask for a motion to approve?
Move to approve.
Second.
Thank you. All right. And I know there were a couple of action items which are in the on the agenda anyway. So we'll come to them as we go through the agenda. So without both Nina and Chris not being able to attend today, the communication update. Just wanted just clarification in terms of the Google document that was shared. You just want to know whether people are able to access that and complete and input their thoughts on the sort of ideas on what we can post for, on social media, and also do the sort of Exeter TV 10-minute, 5-minute sort of tips that we're hoping to kick off. So just want to see that Bev, Jackie, Kristen, you're able to access that document to complete and fill in.
Yeah, I'm able to. I checked it out this morning.
Bev, are you able to access that Google documentation so that we can get...
I'm probably able to. I haven't done it.
Oh, okay. So yeah, if you can be involved in that, that'd be great, so that we can sort of line up the posts and make sort of life easier for Nina in terms of providing an idea as to what, if there's a subject matter that you want to sort of just highlight, and if there's any links associated with that issue, and any tips or any other sort of interesting information that can be put into either a Facebook post and shared along the platforms, and also can be put up on the sustainability webpage and so on. So that, all the information is there, and Nina doesn't have to do a lot to get that posted.
Is that on the town website?
The Google Doc?
Yeah.
No, it was shared. It was shared after the last meeting. I can share it with you. I can email that over to you.
If that could be part of the minutes, it would be helpful.
Okay. All right. I'll email that. All right. So, what else? I think we can go on to the grant update and the plan and the survey issues that we were talking about at the last meeting. So, Julie, if you wanted to take that.
Sure. So I had resent today a reminder, just if you have any more comments on the work plan that we had discussed last month. It seemed like the committee was very favorable, had a favorable opinion about the work plan. And again, it's a framework for a work plan. It doesn't mean, that every year you have to do every part of the plan. It just means it's a sort of a framework and an outline for you to work from and pull from for ideas. When and if you have the capacity to actually send out messages or do a messaging campaign. So it I think it took you through that sort of calendar of events throughout the year, and certainly it can be added to. And I do have it on my screen if anyone wants to look at it at this time, but I'm not sure that we may not need to revisit that in great detail unless someone wants to.
Is this the plan we're talking about?
The work plan, yeah.
Were the changes incorporated into following last month's meeting?
The version I sent out kept the same changes that were made last time. In case anyone wanted to make more changes, we could track them. But not hard to accept all the changes and incorporate them. But they were all yes and track changes.
Okay.
Yep.
Does anyone just want a brief look at them? Julie, if you just want to quickly share your screen, that'd be great.
Sure. Hang on. Okay, so let me shrink this down a little bit so we can see it a little bit better. Maybe a little hard to read if we make it smaller, but there we go. So the first section of the work plan was basically an annual calendar of messages and events. And so month by month, it's just sort of some suggestions for messaging about different topics that are seasonally, oriented and appropriate. Other events that other folks are doing that you could piggyback on a little bit and promote as part of your sustainability platform. So, for example, I know this is a little bit. Sorry, some of these lines don't match up, but things like that. We just had our New Hampshire Climate Summit last week. It's something that's hosted by the New Hampshire Coastal Adaptation Work Group every year. And it talks about a lot of things about coastal issues related to climate adaptation and resilience planning and sustainability. And we just had that last week, and you certainly could piggyback on that messaging. Moving into June, a lot of people are doing tree planting, maybe a tree planting campaign. So you kind of get the gist of it. So basically, month by month, I think that water conservation campaign is something that probably is very topical right now. I mean, you already see message boards across town that talk about I think we're at level 2 water conservation measures right now. So maybe even bumping that up to an April, May timeframe and having that be an ongoing message over the summer. So basically, it's just a calendar of different activities that the SAC could help promote, and things that people already do. Like, for example, in April, the Southeast Land Trust always holds their annual Wild and Scenic Film Festival. This year was actually the last 2 years. It's been a virtual event. I've always attended in person at the Portsmouth Music Hall. It's a wonderful event. It talks about everything from energy conservation to water conservation, and it just runs the gamut from everything that's sustainable, basically across the globe. Actually, there are international stories that are in films that are shown at the event. So it'd be a great thing for people to be more aware of. They typically sell out, so that's always a great thing. But it's something to also, to kind of promote. So there are ways, I think for the SAC to be more, to send out messages that you don't have to create a lot of messaging around. It's just messaging that you can piggyback on other people's, other folks' and other town activities, including things like in October, the RPC sponsors the Household Hazardous Waste Day, as well as many towns in 5 towns in the region, and that's a great thing to promote in October. So
I think,
again, sorry, go ahead.
Yes, I think that will be should be probably populated with the Google that Nina created, and people have inputted on that. Yep. So they can be integrated properly. So
sure.
Okay.
We don't have a website just yet for some of these things that are coming up, like King Tide Photo Contest in October for the New Hampshire Coastal Adaptation Work Group, the Household Hazardous Waste Day. When we got those links, we would send them on to you and make sure that you had them in hand. So that's the first part of the work plan. The other things are other items to add to the work plan, depending on when you want to add them. But we came up with a sort of a list here of certain items that you want to promote. Battery recycling certainly would be part of Household Hazardous Waste Day, but I think you had an idea as a committee to expand that. And so here's a list of pumpkin composting. So things of seasonal and topical items that you might want to add and put into the work plan where you feel they fit best. Or if you want to expand those topics to, more than just, one-off events like Household Hazardous Waste Day, for example. The next section was about social media and websites and how to best, leverage those and suggestions for event notices and how often you might want to actually post on those social media sites. I have a task here to create a press release template, which it's in the works, and I should have that in a couple of days, but even by the end of early next week, I would think. And then other partners, I think we're moving down the list here, other partners that you might want to, to work with. And we've added a bunch of things last time, including the Exeter Area Chamber of Commerce, the Downtown Business Association, and others, now that downtown is kind of open for business more openly. And then the idea of creating a Sustainability Advisory Committee sponsorship item where you could have a template of a letter that you could, which I'll help to develop as part of as well as the press release, as far as being able to send out if you wanted to help a sponsor. It doesn't always have to be a monetary funding or support or sponsorship opportunity. It's just lending your name and yourselves to, in your group, your committee's name to sponsoring certain activities. So that's sort of the work plan in a nutshell.
Okay. And then you sent out, obviously, the survey, and you sent something else out later on this afternoon.
Yeah, I'm going to share. Do you want me to share the survey?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Okay, so this is the draft community survey. So after the last meeting, I worked with Chetna and Christopher Zigmont and Jackie. Is it Ojala? I'm sorry if I pronounced your name wrong.
That's all right, Ojala.
Ojala, sorry. I know it's always in the the accent on the syllable, right? So a draft survey for the Sustainability Advisory Committee to do as what we're calling a creative outreach, campaign. Given COVID restrictions, in-person sort of open houses and other in-person meetings have been difficult to even consider scheduling or even organizing and spending the time to do it, given the restrictions. But just, I think it was last Tuesday, Monday, that Exeter removed its outdoor mask mandate. And so now there's a little bit more flexibility to do something a little bit different if a survey is not the instrument that you want to use to reach out to people. Given that, we do have some time constraints. So the grant does end on June 30th. So we have to have all of the work completed by then. So there's a little bit of a time crunch if we want to kind of reorient ourselves away from a survey and into something different, or maybe even a hybrid approach. But certainly I'm totally open to any suggestions that anyone has to do a combination of a survey and maybe some in person. I think Chetna, you had called it like a meet and greet kind of situation at the arts festival, maybe.
Yeah. So I think you received some of our comments with regards to the survey, and there's some of the suggestions that Jackie made, which I thought was very constructive in terms of asking some of the questions and reframing the questions, and I like that for sure. I think very much similar to Chris, and obviously he's not here, but sort of the reasoning behind the survey, and also exactly what it is that we would be getting out of doing the survey, and then what do we do with the information that's collected. So it's trying to narrow that down, and again, not have so many questions of asking of residents, and I think that still is open to debate as to what it is exactly being asked, and what do we do with that once we receive those information. So the other suggestion was that obviously the survey was suggested on the back of the fact that we couldn't do an outreach program or similar. So I was just sort of thinking outside, in terms of we have the team with Scott Ruffner and his team who are putting the sort of arts festival in Swayze, I think, during the summer, whether there was potential of having a table there to talk to the residents, people coming, just so they have an inkling as to who the committee is and what we're trying to do, and get involved with any specific things that we as a committee are working on. For example, we're coming on to later on the agenda, the single-use plastic issue, and getting people involved and just making them more aware of the situation. I had a meeting prior to this through a recent resident to Exeter who wanted wanted to get people to come together and talk about what issues I guess people are concerned about, following a lot of Exeter Forum communication on styrofoam, for example. And, and there was a handful of people there who turned up this afternoon, and, a lot of them don't know about the committee and what it's trying to do, and what, and that kind of sort of outreach is important, and I appreciate that COVID and restrictions over the past year has made it difficult for people to be engaged and be involved. So for me, if it's a short survey with real tight questions in terms of asking, and then doing a table at a team festival, whatever. I mean, I haven't approached Scott Ruffin at all, so I don't know the possibility of doing that. But prior to this committee, we did do a similar table a couple of years ago and engaged with people who attended that. So it was a thought put out there, and I appreciate comments from the other members of the committee and their thoughts.
Could I ask a question, Jenna, just in the interim before people comment? When is the Art and Music Festival held? Like, what's the time frame for that? For those, I think it's a series of events, correct?
I think they're once a month. They're happening. If I'm wrong, I mean the last one was on the 22nd of May, and I think there's one in June and July and August. I think I'm not clued in on the dates as yet.
Okay, no, I just wanted to know like the general time frame. So it's once per month then.
I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
Along lines of the survey, when I reviewed that, I was it's a lot. It's really long. I agree with your comment. Like, I think I don't think I would fill it out because of how long it is, and this is what I do. So I do think we need to seriously cut it down, and I agree, narrow the focus of why we were asking these questions and what are we hoping to get out of it and using these questions for. So I agree with you on that one, Shanna.
Thank you, Kristen.
Who was just speaking?
Kristen.
Okay, thank you.
But I think some of the examples that Jackie put forward were, for me, more in line with what I would expect the survey to be. And I think you have Jackie's email on her comments.
I think Jackie basically kind of, I think Jackie, you selected certain questions that you thought were most appropriate. Maybe it's just worth just quickly scrolling through. I mean, I tried to keep the survey less than 10 questions. The first one being sort of like, just asking people to self-identify where they do things that are sustainable in nature in their own lives. And this would just like a check the box kind of situation where it probably would take someone about 30 seconds to click the boxes and say, what opportunities do you have and what do you do in your life that's could be a sustainable activity. And so there are a lot here, but it wouldn't take someone too long to read through these and check them off and say, yes, I do these or I don't do these.
But I don't really
I wonder with that one, just starting there, if we're trying to shorten it up, if that's something that we could get rid of, if it's what people are already doing in their daily lives, I don't know where we go with that information as far as if we're looking for questions to shorten it up.
I'd agree with Jackie.
I'm not sure everyone.
I missed the meeting last time. I wasn't sure, like, why is there a survey going out?
It's one of the requirements for the grant reporting,
Okay.
which is due at the end of June.
Okay.
So
It's replacing what we had envisioned when we first wrote the grant before COVID. It was a pre-COVID proposal. that we would do some sort of sustainability, community engagement event, an in-person type of event. But as the months wore on and we kept going through and realizing that an in-person event probably wasn't feasible, and, reaching a couple of months ago and realizing like, okay, so we have to come up with a different approach for some sort of engagement activity. So, I think the most logical, fallback from doing an in-person event would be a community survey where it's remote, basically. And so it's a replacement for an in-person event. We had done an open house several years ago for the climate adaptation and the Exeter resilience grant that we had several years ago. It was in the winter, which was not fortunate, but fortunate that it didn't snow that night. And we had great turnout. It was a really great activity, and we had over 60 people attend. So it was a replacement activity for not being able to meet in person and have an in-person event.
Okay. I wonder if, based on that, I wonder if it could be as simple as what would you wish, where do you see a lack of sustainability, or where would you wish there was more involvement of the town in blank, more composting, more recycling, more, just kind of leaving. And that way people can fill in. We can seed it with suggestions, but would that get to what we're trying to do?
I think that first question is not really, it can be scrapped. Okay. And I just think it needs to be more framed in a way where the answers that we get, that we actually can do something with, as opposed to just gathering information and then the committee not having the time to actually execute some of the issues that people may raise, and that's where my reluctance is on having so many different aspects being brought up, and then we're a volunteer committee of 7 and then putting into effect and then prioritizing what comes first, what's more important is I think is sort of opening us up into a lot of different areas that we haven't got the resources or the time to fulfill. So
would this be a way of gathering information from residents for them to say they want so many things, it would not be possible for a volunteer committee? This is what the residents want. Like, is that would be nice, wouldn't it? Okay. So if we just have, what would you like to see improved sustainability wise for the town of Exeter, and just gather that information, that seems like it would satisfy the grant and be useful moving forward. Yes?
I think so.
So you want to reorient the question basically from what do people already do in their own lives and what kind of activities do they perform, to turning the question around to what do you want the town to do more of?
Yeah. But what is it that people are concerned about?
Or what do you need
to do with Exeter and living in Exeter? I mean,
where do you see there could be room for improvement and sustainability?
The fact that somebody may carpool for work, as a committee, that is not, what can we do with that piece of information? It's, everyone is doing something, I assume, because of the time that we're living in and because of the climate crisis is on our doorstep. I am positive that a lot of people are doing something to minimize their carbon footprint in one way or another, and it's taking that step forward to say, okay, what is it that you would like to see, or what is it that you would see that needs improving or we could do more of as a town?
Do you think it would be useful in asking that question of having a list of like 15 different things and then having an open-ended one? Like I don't want to like persuade people into like, you know, these 15 things, but I'm not sure if an open-ended would be, it's harder to organize that data.
So would somebody would be willing to sort of suggest what the 15 things would be?
Sure.
That the town could work on. So I heard in the conversation about reorienting this question to what can the town do, like to basically meet your needs, right? What you're concerned about and what could be improved, and then a list of 15 things that they could choose from.
Yes, and they can choose all 15 if they're inclined.
Yep, as many as apply, right? Plus an open other option.
Mm-hmm. And I was thinking that'd be the survey.
That'd be the whole survey.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Everyone else is welcome to their opinions. That was just my suggestion.
So just moving forward, I think Jackie, you had said that I think your questions that you thought would be good to keep in the survey were questions 2, 6, 7, and 8. So number 2 was
2 as far as, I don't know. I like that it just kind of like gives the link to the website. If you don't know who these people are sending the survey, here you go. So I felt like that was useful.
Okay. Well, I think one of the things I had mentioned when we were emailing back and forth between Chetna, Christopher, and Jackie was that, so the introduction could have that website. And if you want more, this is being sponsored by the advisory committee. If you want to learn more about them, here's the website. Repeating it again in the survey is not a bad idea. I think
for keeping it concise, I would put the link in the introduction and just forget about have you attended a committee meeting or whatever, because I think, they can learn about the committee and the goals and everything else by clicking onto the link in the introduction, and then at the end of the survey you can always say please for more information or whatever, please attend the monthly meetings, and they're all posted on the town website. I think again it's like, well, what are we going to do with that piece of information? We know like no one is attending right now, but people may be watching, maybe watching on Facebook Live and or catching up later at a later date on Exeter TV and so on. So I think that that question to me is more, for that face-to-face when you're talking to somebody saying, oh, did you know that the town has a committee and, we have X number of members and, please attend or please get involved. That's when that kind of conversation comes about in that face-to-face. So what was the other question? 6, was it, for Jackie?
So I think you wanted to get rid of question number 2 and just move that information up. I'm sorry, I'm doing some editing on the fly here.
Yeah.
So I moved it up to the top and we'll wordsmith that a little bit. We're removing question number 2. Well, now it's renumbered everything. Sorry. So the former question number 3 didn't seem to resonate with people. Not good.
Again, it's something that I think the solar installation is something that was on the vote at the town elections, and again, it's I think again that is all information that is happening, and composting again is something that's happening, and it's a question of just doing more sort of social media outreach to get people to keep that on top of their sort of minds, to say, yeah, the town is doing this, and this service is available, and we need to get the solar panel hopefully is going ahead and going to happen, and so on and so forth. So
yeah, okay. I think when I added this question, my thought process was all about how aware are people generally of what the town is actually doing, and taking some positive steps and some really tangible steps forward regarding sustainability, because it goes toward Chet and I think that something on the agenda might tonight be talking about putting the sustainability office, back before the budget committee, and pushing that effort forward again. Like, if do people know about those kinds of things before they get to the budget committee? Is there, an outreach, strategy? Do they, I guess it's just like trying to gauge how aware are people of all these things that have happened? Because if they're not aware, then that's like an avenue and an opening for a lot more community engagement and outreach on topics.
But we know that outreach is important. We know that, and it's and at the moment with lack of in-person outreach, it has to happen through Facebook posts and other social media posts and so on and so forth, and to get that information out. And I see, hopefully, we can work with Bob at Exeter TV, and again, highlight these things that, yeah, did you know that, this is the situation at the moment, and keep that messaging ongoing. And again, in the introduction, you're saying people can find more information, and it is fairly updated in terms of the information on the town webpage. And I think it's just a constant driver, and then it's also been linked to the DPW page. There's a lot of interactions going on. So again, to put that into a survey is like, well, what we're going to do with that information? We know that we need to do more outreach. We know that, so.
Okay. So my approach to doing an exercise like this, like developing a survey, is to put more information out there than you could possibly use, because it's easier to delete stuff than it is to come up with it and to reinvent stuff. So I'm totally fine with deleting things. So if the committee feels like this question should be deleted, then let's do it.
One question, do you think it would be worthwhile to ask, have you heard of anything the town is doing sustainability-wise, and how did you hear of it? So then we would know if any channels are working, or do you think that's not worth it for this survey?
I think asking something along the lines of that, either how people have heard of things in the past or how they get their information. I know the communication has done surveys like this before, but just getting some sense of how people get their sustainability information would be helpful.
Sorry. I'm going back and forth between two different keyboards on two different computers. And you know how you have muscle memory when you type? Like, my fingers aren't, this is the small keyboard, and my fingers aren't adapting right now. Sorry. So have you heard of sustainable activities by the town? Well, we can change that. We can wordsmith that a little bit. By the town. And if so, sorry, how and where? Is that correct? How and where? Is that sort of the gist of the question you kind of wanted to ask?
Well, basically, how did you?
Have you heard?
How do you get your how do you get your information? you know.
Yeah, I don't know if we need to list everything because I think that's just so many words for people. But if you're, are you familiar with any? And if so, how and what? And then they can fill it in. Does that sound?
Yeah.
Okay.
There's too much guideposting otherwise.
Wait, what was the other? I'm sorry, Kristen, what was that? Have you heard of, something in between here? So where?
So are you familiar with any sustainable activities taken by the town? If so, how and where? So just like that way it'll just be a blank place and they can be like PV installation on DPW and website. And so they'll just like fill in what they heard, or not how and where, I guess what and where is what I should say.
Are you familiar with sustainable activities completed by the town or implemented by the town, or any verb there, or just activities by the town?
Activities by the town. And if so, what and where?
Oh, what and where? Okay, good. So we're
what and where did you hear?
Yeah.
Or where did you
hear from? Yeah.
Something.
What and where? Or how did you hear about it?
Yeah, what and how did you hear about it?
Well, the what is like.
So what did they hear, and how did they hear about it?
So yeah, I'm just trying to tease out the question, because it's like what activity and how did you hear about it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So we're getting rid of this, right? So are you familiar with sustainable activities conducted by the town? There needs to be a verb in there somewhere.
Sure,
Don't you think?
it works.
Conducted, completed, done, sponsored.
Conducted.
Okay. And if so, what activity and how did you hear about it? Or activities? Let's just say it could be more than one, right? Oops. Sorry. Does that work?
Sure.
Good. So I didn't receive a lot of comments on questions 4 and 5. Do you support town investments and actions that enhance sustainability? And would you support funding to create a sustainability office? I actually, Chetna, you had voiced this about previous question number 5 here. But let's just go back to number 4. Do you support town investments and actions that enhance sustainability?
I feel like we're covering that in 1 now, so I think we're good.
Didn't they already vote on funding the sustainability office?
Yes. So I think that number 2 should be scrapped, or number 4, whatever it is.
Okay. So the reason I put this one in here, I wasn't sure if it was something that you would want to hear some feedback about. Is that yes, the town did support it. There was it a ballot item or a ballot question?
It was.
It was a ballot item, yes.
Right.
So it was a citizens petition that asked, for creating a position, but there was not language in there about how to raise an appropriate funding, and that's where it fell short on that.
Right. So I guess my idea about including this in a survey is that I know that you had talked last time about putting a budget line item back in this year to the budget committee in the fall, and whether you want to know what level of support that you have in the community for that, because you still have to get that before the budget committee. They have to pass it. It has to be part of the budget, and the budget needs to be passed. So there's like a chain of events that has to happen. And I feel like the more you can demonstrate community support for something. And maybe at the end of the survey, you may even ask people if you want to, sign a letter of support or be involved in any kind of way. Please leave us your email and your contact information to get people involved in the process, because the more people that, voice their opinion before the budget committee, whether it's through letters or whatever it ends up being, the more successful you may be in getting, that line item passed. So that's the reason why I put it in here. Do you want to know what people think about this? If they support it, then yes.
But then 60% people already voted on it. And then, and it was a mandate.
I know, but it was to form the office, but there's lots of other steps that go, like I said, that go along with that, as far as budgeting and capacity and all that kind of stuff. There are lots of reasons that the budget committee decided not to go forward with it last year. Was it last year?
2 years ago.
2 years ago. 2 years ago. And so that was my rationale for putting that in here. But if you don't want it in here, we can totally take it out. It's not a problem. But that was the reason why I was thinking about putting it in there, that it would give you a show of support.
Yeah, and that can be in the first question of what would you like the town to do, and we can create an office of sustainability for the town. So that can just be in the list of provide weekly composting, curbside pickup. So it's in there. I've got a list going for you.
Okay, so maybe it's not create, but fund a sustainability office for Exeter. That would be the question. Fund. In question number 1, not this question.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. Fund an office of sustainability. Yes.
Okay. I'm just gonna do a little bit of creative editing here so I can remember what we said. So fund. I'm just going to put here question number 1, fund a sustainability officer for Exeter. Okay, good.
It's down as a coordinator in the job description. So,
it's coordinator?
Mm-hmm.
But it's an office though, right?
I think we could say position. Fund the sustainability coordinator position for the town of Exeter.
Oops. Can't type tonight. Ooh, still can't type tonight. Okay. Does that work?
Mm-hmm.
So we'll move that to question number 1.
Yeah.
Great. Jackie had mentioned 6, 7, and 8 were of interest. So,
I think reading number 6 again now, what we edited to question number 1 kind of encompasses that. So I think maybe we've already kind of covered that with edits.
I think the way that we had reoriented question number 1 was, what do you want the town to do? Not what are you willing or interested in participating in? Is that correct? That we wanted this question to be more
Would you like the town to organize community-wide sustainability events? I think that goes in question 1.
Yeah.
So what, I'm just paraphrasing here, what should the town pursue or provide for sustainability? I'm just paraphrasing here. We'll wordsmith it later. But so that was the orientation of that question, was what can the town do? What do you want the town to do? And then this question is more sorry if I don't mean to scroll too fast there. This is more what are you interested in participating in? And that was kind of the gist of the first question, basically. Click all the things that you actually do and you're interested in doing. So you don't think this one's necessary?
No, because I think it'll come into the first question.
But again, that question is about what should the town do versus this is what do you want to do? Different spin, different
Well,
on a
this is
different
asking
perspective.
for community events. I feel like you can, like, as one of the options for question one, say, like, provide community events to participate in around sustainability.
Okay. So volunteering to support or events about sustainability. So that would be something to go up in question number one.
Yeah, I feel like those are good points and they can just kind of be put as options in question one.
Interest in volunteering to support or implement community events about sustainability. Something like that.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. And original question number 8, last one.
I think it'd be good to learn if there were other groups out there doing similar things that we could maybe like collaborate with. That's why I picked that one.
Yeah, you can keep that in.
Yes, is that sort of like a consensus on
Yeah, that's fine.
keeping this one in? Okay, so we've kind of collapsed the survey. I think we got rid of this one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, sort of into this question here. So basically 3 questions?
Yeah.
Yeah. Multiple choice in the first part.
And then you've got the link to the Google form if they want to add more info or share any other information that's on the webpage.
That's what this is?
Yeah.
That's what this is the Google form?
Yeah.
Okay, so we should probably explain that. Do you think explain Google form for public input? Somehow put that in there that's what it is and that's how it's supposed to be used kind of thing?
Yeah, if they want to contact the committee with suggestions, input on anything to do with sustainability, they can fill out that Google form.
Okay. And you want to end with that?
Sure.
Okay. So, sorry if I make everyone crazy about moving too fast. I don't want to move too fast, and it makes me crazy when people do that. So at the very beginning, is this the same form, or is
Yes.
that a different?
That's the same form.
So should there be a different, just the naked website here of the SAC?
I have to double check the link. I thought I did send you the link. I'll confirm on the link. I'll confirm the link once we finish the meeting. So yeah. So if you can work up that questionnaire or the survey and then share, that'd be great.
So do you want this one to be just the general link for SAC?
Yes.
Okay. And do you want it to be expressly explicit at the end then that this is a Google form for you to participate in and submit any kind of public input?
For ongoing input, they can complete the Google form, and I'll send you the link. I can't remember if that's the right link or not, but
they should probably be different if we can make them different.
Yeah, I will look into that.
Yep, great. So we're ending with the and then of course always at the end you thank you for your participation. Do you want to say anything about typically there's like a little bit of a caveat at the very beginning and at the end, thank you for your survey results will be available wherever, probably at the SAC website, maybe.
I guess so, yeah.
Um,
And we'll share it at a meeting.
Yeah. And then typically at the very beginning, there's a disclaimer. Okay, so it says survey responses will be collected and published in a summary report, but no personal information will be collected from respondents. That's always like a really important thing just to say that, just so people know that you're not spying on them. People get a little freaked out about that kind of stuff. And if you all can approve the survey through email, just individually, to me and Chetna, and let me know if you're okay, we can get this online fairly quickly since it's pretty short. And would you like it to go through a certain date in June? Like 3 weeks is often like enough to get the bulk of people.
I would say.
Sorry, go ahead.
For the survey to go out by the second week of June.
We could probably get it up and running by June 7th, which is next Monday. I would think that's probably the latest. We could probably do it. We could probably do it by then, which means 1, 2, 3. So have it run through the 25th. We can then, it's really super easy and fast to publish and provide you with results from the survey. We do it in this different formats. So you get an Excel spreadsheet of the raw data, including any comments that are made. You get graphs and charts about percentages of people who answer questions in certain ways. And then there are, I'm blanking on the third one. There's another format. I can't quite remember what it is now. But anyway, you'll get all that information.
Just so we can get this approved and out quickly, would it be possible for me to share my screen so we can talk about the 10 different options for the first part of the survey?
Sure.
Thanks.
Have you been typing them up? Great. Yeah, you can just send them. You can send them to me, and I could just plop them right into. Hi, who's this little bunny?
Oh, this is Otto.
Otto.
All right. You guys know I have an electricity bent and a building bent, so feel free to add or take away.
You want to introduce your items, Kristen?
I thought it would be easier if people just read through it on their own.
Okay.
Do you want me to read through them? Would that be helpful? Chetna, Jackie?
No, it's good. We can read through.
You can read? Oh, good. Thank you.
Can we add styrofoam in that ban single-use plastic? I think that covers it. Good list.
So my only suggestion at the last two, that they should be phrased the way the others are, so that someone's selecting or not selecting. Like the other ones aren't like yes or no questions. I think the other ones kind of are more like select all that apply or that you support kind of thing. So just organize community-wide sustainability events, volunteer opportunities to support sustainability in Exeter. That way they kind of read the same.
Yep, that makes sense.
Okay.
So again, how would this one be better? Organize again? Or this is asking if you'd be interested in.
offer volunteer opportunities.
Okay,
Something like that.
thank you.
And then they'll have a blank area also to add any other.
Other category. Right?
Okay.
So with this,
Anything to add, Jackie or Bev? Or Nico or Dave? Or Julie?
so would this be basically check all that apply? Are you asking, would you support these activities or participate in them? What's the ask? What's the question?
You phrased that in your document, I thought, didn't you?
Kind of. So I think it's like, what opportunity, I'm kind of paraphrasing from what I had. What opportunities to take sustainable actions in the community would you support?
Support.
Something like that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That sounds good.
Okay.
Okay. So, Julie, I'm just going to send this to you right now.
Awesome.
Shetna, I'm just CCing you because you're
All
trying.
Okay. So you're asking to select all that apply. What would you support if the town offered these opportunities? Okay. Got it.
So so if you can share the survey once you've sort of tied it up and so on. And if we're looking to have it sent out by next Monday, I would say it needs to be shared with all of us before Friday.
How about tonight? When I get off the meeting, I'll clean it up. I'll create a new version and send it out to you because I have an early morning site visits tomorrow morning. I'll be out for like 3 hours, and I won't be back till middle afternoon, and then I have a night meeting. So
okay, and if you share it with us, and then if everyone can get their comments in before Wednesday. Where are we? We're Tuesday already, aren't we? By Thursday morning.
Thursday, yeah. Yeah, I can have someone start putting it into our publicinput.com platform. Since it's very short, so I don't think it's going to be a problem with getting it in. And if you have any, last minute changes on Thursday or Friday, we can just tweak it a little bit and send it back out for final review by a couple of people. Maybe it's Chetna and one other person, maybe Kristen, can just kind of go over it one more last time, and then we can launch.
Oh, okay.
And so what we'll do is on Monday or at the very latest Tuesday morning is send you a link to the website that you can post on your webpage. Send out to social media. It'll be a live link, and anyone can respond. Do you want a question? Do you want to? Sorry, go ahead.
Go on, Julie.
Do you want to add a question? Are you an Exeter resident? Just so because some people may get it, and it may be outside of their, they may not live in town. They may get the link, but they may not live in town. Do you want to ask the question about, are you an Exeter resident?
But they may work here.
Yeah. So you could ask, are you a resident or business owner or property owner?
Do you live or work in Exeter? And then I can speak yes, no to that.
Do you put a date by which the survey needs to be sent in?
I'm sorry, Kristen, you had suggested, I'm just trying to catch up with notes here. Do you live or work?
Yeah,
Do you live, work, or own property in Exeter?
Yes, all three?
sounds good.
Own property. So do you live, work, or own property and or own property? Because people may fall into all three categories, right? in Exeter. Okay. I'm sorry, Chetna, what was your question?
Is there a date by which we want the survey to be completed?
Yeah, that's what I was saying before. Maybe we could have a 3 week. I think 3 weeks is plenty for a survey. I think you'll capture pretty much everyone that you want to capture within 3 weeks. Actually, typically it's within 10 days. Often when you launch a survey, the responses come in that quickly.
Okay.
So you're going to get like 75% of the people within that time frame. So do you want to go to like the 24th or something? That'll give us a day, like the Friday the 25th, to kind of get things together. It only takes literally not even an hour to put together the statistics and the graphs and the, all the results and everything from the survey and put that together in a package for you. So what we'll need to do is we have 60 days after the end of the grant, which is June 30th, to supply a report with all the findings and everything else kind of all put together. And we'll spend a couple of days in the last few days of June to put together a report. But you certainly can have the results by that weekend. I would say by the 25th. You'd at least be able to see what the results of the survey were. And then we'll spend I'll spend the next few days kind of putting together the report and getting things together to send out to you guys for approval. So you can submit it to the coastal program for the grant. Well, we will. We actually are the contractor, so we'll be submitting it, but I won't want you guys to have a look at it. So are you contemplating a meeting in July? The
6th of July, yeah.
July 6th?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so why don't I'll plan on having everything together by the end of June or very shortly after that. And at the the July 6th meeting, I will have sent it to you already, and you can say yes, no, everything's good, everything's packaged well, looks good. And we can ship it off after that.
Okay. All right.
Great. Well, thanks so much for slogging through the survey. This is always a process, and I really appreciate your patience and your input. I think it's great. I mean, it needs to be like I think it said before last month. It needs to be your voice, and it needs to be stuff, information that you can use and that'll be useful to you. And I appreciate that you took the time to go through it. And I think a short survey is great. And Chetna, if you decide you want to do any of these meet and greet activities, we can provide the survey to you. We can keep the link open, or we can reopen the link in a different way, and you could still collect, like using an iPad or a computer or wherever you were, or you can print out copies of it and have people do it on paper. So, but we do have iPads available at the RPC if you wanted to borrow them. We could certainly, let you do that, and you could collect information like right on the spot, and people could just very quickly answer the 3 questions. Boom, you got the data. So we can just kind of work through that as we go forward. I mean, beyond the term of the grant, but we certainly can offer you that flexibility to be able to have that technology if you need it.
Sure. Thank you, Julie.
You bet.
Okay. We're ready to move on to our next.
I just have one other item. And this is something that you won't see until probably the end of June, but I'll be sending out the needs assessment around town. I just need to talk to, I'm not really sure who I should approach. I'm going to ask this question to Nico. I'm going to put you on the spot. I think I might have asked you this question in the past, but if I want to send the needs assessment out to department heads and ask them to fill out a couple of, go read it through it, fill out like a couple of columns, like yes, enter like DPW or whatever their name is, and whatever, like this is something that's in our work plan. This is something that we want to do. Like really quick and very quick sort of exercise, nothing that's going to take more than not even an hour probably. Who would I ask to be able to get permission to do that? I just don't feel comfortable doing it just on my own.
No, that's a good question. I would forward it to the town manager. Russ Dean or the executive secretary, Pam McElroy.
Okay.
And then they could distribute at their discretion to the audience that you're looking to review it.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for your guidance.
That was easy. I thought you were going to throw me a curveball.
No, I was just like, I didn't want to like, send out this email and everyone's like, what, where's this coming from? Who's she asking me to do this,
I appreciate you asking. Thanks.
Yeah, you bet.
Thanks, Julie. Okay, let's move on. So agenda item number 7 was to do with the single-use plastic water bottles, the proposal and the discussion. And Dave shared the Portsmouth documentation that Portsmouth went through, and I shared that with everyone. I don't know if hopefully you had time to look at that. I know it was late to have shared the information, but wondered if anyone had any thoughts on going forward or discussion on the single-use plastic and the way Portsmouth approached their ordinance and getting into place. And obviously with Portsmouth and also what we'll be looking for here is to do with only the Portsmouth municipality buildings and any events that the Portsmouth Council run, is how that's phrased in that documentation that was approved and went through.
I think I'm all for going forward with it. I read through that. I didn't have a lot of time to spend with it, but reading through the Portsmouth documentation, I didn't, catch that it's just the municipal buildings that it would apply to. But I guess that would be a lot easier probably to move forward with than like a whole townwide thing. So I'm for it.
Dave, do you have a?
Yeah, just my understanding of the Portsmouth is it does cover municipal buildings, but it's on all city property. So any type of, ball games, Little League concession stands on town-owned fields. Like in Exeter, if you were to adopt this, it would apply to all that, in my opinion, all school events, all town city-sponsored events, anything in Swayze Parkway, because it's town-owned, the farmer's market, any stores or vendors on town property. That's my understanding of the Portsmouth, that it's municipal buildings, but it's also any municipal
events,
where either a private vendor or a city, a town vendor distributes this, it would be prohibited.
Kristen?
Is there a solution so people don't go thirsty at these events? I didn't have a chance to read through what you sent thoroughly, but is there like a water vendor that we can work with that, you pay $1 to fill your water bottle, or you can something like that?
There was, and I know some of the events in Portsmouth, like running races that I was doing prior to the Seacoast Road Series. They used to have big sort of containers of water that you could just fill your bottle with, as opposed to handing out plastic water bottles at the end of a race.
Okay, because I know we are always downtown with our water bottles and we drink all the water, and then we're like, where's the water fountain? And so we walked over to the spring a couple times to get water. But it would be nice if there was a water fountain downtown.
Maybe put that on the list.
May I ask a question, just to be clear, because there's different schools of thought on this, and I guess it would be all baked into the ordinance or the policy, is that a lot of people think the single water bottles, like individual plastic water bottles, aren't single-use plastic because they're recyclable. So I'm not, like things like cups, like styrofoam cups, you do not recycle them, throw them away. So just to be clear, if whatever the direction the committee wants to go, you have to determine what is a single-use plastic and what isn't. And a lot of people determine that if it's recyclable, then it's not single-use.
I had not heard that before, honestly.
I would question that, because what we read is that an awful lot of recycling never happens. I mean, in all good faith, we put something in a recycling bin, but the truth of the matter is that it's more fossil fuel propaganda than actuality.
Yeah, I mean, so single-use plastics, I know with regards to water bottles themselves, and Coke and Pepsi and whatever else, other soft drink bottles, less than 6% of bottles are actually recycled.
Yeah, it's a very, very small amount.
It's still very much a throwaway sort of culture of, you drink your, just throw away. So
I think if it can't be washed and reused, it's single use.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm not advocating any position. I'm just saying that's what, you want to make sure, I would want to make sure I'm clear on what the committee wants it to be, and then you write the policy accordingly, because those are the issues that are going to arise if you're not clear.
I thought single use was clear. I didn't realize.
Materials are coming on the market. The substitutes are coming on the market. It seems as though we would advocate for those, not plastic.
Okay. So
glass. What's wrong with glass?
So with the question, I guess, posing on this on the agenda item was if we adopt similar stance as what Portsmouth did, how would we want to do so exactly as what Portsmouth did, i.e. with events on sort of town property and parks and recs and events and to do with water bottles, plastic water bottles, basically, that you buy from Market Basket.
What about plastic bags? Don't we want to contend those?
Well, I think that's another level, I think, to go forward. I think my sort of, I know it's a slow process, but my idea is that, and again, welcome for discussion, is if we start with, plastic bottles is one of the key polluters and is thrown away. It's very rarely recycled, and people can very much, use reusable water bottles, and there's many of them. And with plastic bags and other sort of single-use plastic, I think it's a bigger picture where I would say on the back of hopefully the success of banning water bottles would be a warrant article or something like that would be put forward to the residents for a wider ban on single-use plastics. And with plastic bags and it's a question of what is the radius of Exeter that we're talking about, because the supermarkets majority of the supermarkets that people probably go to are outside of the town of Exeter. And then working with supermarkets within Exeter as well, and how would that work and so on. So there's a lot more involvement with that, and also with plastic bags to consider those families and individuals who aren't able to afford reusable bags and so on, and how would they be accommodated and served if single-use plastic bags were removed, and then working with the businesses in town.
Reusable bags are not any more expensive than water bottles. I don't see that that's much of an expense.
And the ordinance, this policy in Portsmouth does cover plastic bags.
Bags, yeah.
It's on, you can't dispense them on town property. That's what this policy says. Someone can carry it in and have it, or walk in with a bottle, whatever, a single-use cup from, wherever, and be drinking it. It's just, this bans distribution of all those single-use plastics as defined in the policy on town property by either town-sponsored, town event, or a private vendor utilizing town property.
Which I think sets a good example, and it's good publicity and influential.
So I would suggest, go ahead.
You were going to go ahead. We're going to say the same thing, I think.
Maybe not. I would just suggest if the committee does move forward, I guess I didn't take the time to incorporate this into our, in Exeter, and so forth. So if the committee did want to move forward, I would say I would prepare a draft for the next meeting.
And Chetna, do you think it should only be plastic water bottles on town property in the town of Exeter, or do you think all single, styrofoam plastic bags? What is your scope that you think?
Ideally, it would be great if it was all single use, and I think there would need to be obviously outreach, and also talking about hopefully engaging with the local businesses as well to help us do this, and then extend it further within the business community as well. The issues, it would be great if it was extended and incorporated with all the major sort of plastic polluters that we see. But I think
I guess, you're just not sure if that's feasible. It would be a bigger lift, and we're not sure if we would get it.
I think it's a bigger lift, and also I think we have to have sort of alternatives, and any, the sort of barriers to participation and so on. I think we need to understand more fully on how that would work, and also, with like I said, if an event's happening on town property, what alternatives are there for, water fountains and so on for participants and so on, and then if we have an event happening like farmers market, vendors, making sure that they don't sort of, bag up some, any takeouts or whatever that people may be purchasing.
I don't think they use plastic bags there now, the farmers market. They don't use plastic bags there.
They do.
Do they?
Yeah.
That wasn't my impression. I guess I'm wrong.
I guess, and then also some of the vendors are serving food. It might be in a styrofoam container and so on. So those kind of implication is how then do you sort of police, police that situation and provide alternatives. And I know some towns, they sort of had sort of 3 warnings given to, a business, and then it was like, well, okay, we'll fine you after the 3rd warning. But how long is each warning? And how do you manage that? So I think there's probably a bit more discussion, but if we as a committee vote for this to go to the next step, and working with Dave, to come up with the ordinance, we can maybe look at all single-use plastic, and then discuss, each individual items and see, if it's feasible and what kind of barriers we would come across. And if it feels that, it might be too much of an issue, we can scale it back. Maybe that's the way to go forward.
And I guess I'd like to check in with Nico and Dave on what your thoughts on feasibility of just banning water bottles versus all single-use plastic products. What's the feasibility level of those different options?
You're asking Nico?
And Dave.
Well, I'll jump in first. I guess my first thought, somebody brought up how do you, for lack of a better word, police it. I'm not suggesting it's the police, but who's the authority who's going to oversee it? And, we had that debate when we had the mask ordinance. How is it enforced? Do you want to enforce it with fines and warnings? Do you want to enforce it as an educational piece? And that's what the select board did with the mask ordinance. Rather than have or impose fines or penalties, use it as an educational tool. Like, here's a mask, there's a mask mandate. So, I think first, that's one thing you'll want to think about is, what are you trying to accomplish? Do you want to assess penalties against people, or do you want to educate people? And I think the latter would probably be more beneficial. But Dave,
absolutely
too.
I vote against fines.
Yeah, well said. I mean, the way the policy is written in Portsmouth, and I haven't talked to them. I'm going to reach out and talk to them. I was going to wait to see what the discussion was tonight and where this was going before investing a lot of time, researching this. But enforcement's definitely going to be, even if you wanted to enforce, this would be an issue. The policy's written that it's a warning the first time, and you include the written warning, you include the threat or potential of fines on a subsequent one, and then you can write them. But the reality is probably a lot of times you wouldn't. You would strive toward more education. I think that would be the way to go. I do know, just from what I read, that Portsmouth had, they did they did the same ordinance citywide as well. And they got a lot of pushback from a lot of the restaurants that may have wanted to do the right thing. Just availability and cost of alternatives were an issue. But I will find out. I will better answer your question too. That's a great question, Kristen. I was looking forward to talking to Portsmouth, depending on the outcome of this conversation, and talking to them about their applicability and, lessons learned and so forth, and bring it back to the committee. If we move forward, which it sounds like everyone, at least wants to continue to explore this topic. So I will do that.
And one thing I would suggest on the encouragement of complying is, instead of the stick, the carrot. In Pittsburgh, they had this organization called Sustainable Pittsburgh, and there was restaurants, if you did, so much composting or, had sustainable practices in the business, then you get a Sustainable Pittsburgh partner member goal level, things like that. And I wonder if we could do Sustainable Exeter, partner has committed to not using single-use plastics. And if you do, you get the sticker and you get a spot on our website, and you are listed as one of the sustainable businesses. And I know that we're talking about doing this on town property, but there's so many events held on Swayze Parkway that I feel like we can be like, hey, these are all of the farmers that participate in this. And we can put a little sign on, you can display this on your booth saying you're a partner with Sustainable Exeter. I think that might be a way of
I think that's a great idea. Absolutely great idea.
Making Exeter sustainable.
Whatever phrasing. Sorry. I don't think I was in the last debate argument about that.
Sustainable Exeter.
Whatever it is, we'll call it good.
Making. We're making it.
Making. Okay. I'm going to stop. Whatever it is, called that.
Good idea, Kristen. Definitely. Okay, so I asked for a vote for this to go forward. So I think I'm going to do that. So I think somebody has to motion and then second, and then have to go through.
I'll motion.
Second.
Motion for a vote, yes.
All right. So can you say yes or no to going to the next steps and state your name, because it needs to be noted in our minutes.
Yeah.
Bev?
Jackie and I vote yes to moving forward.
Bev?
Yeah, I voted yes.
Kristen?
voting yes.
All right. I'm voting yes. And I don't know if this counts, Nico, or not, but both Chris and Adam said they wanted to move forward as well, even though they're not here. So I don't know if that counts as their vote. But we have a quorum anyway, so we're good. Is that good?
Yeah, you can only record the votes that are made.
Okay.
But it's unanimous 4-0.
Okay. Thank you. All right, we can go forward. And Dave, if you want any help, I'm happy to help out with anything.
As soon as I get a draft together, I will send it along to you.
All right. Thanks, Dave. All right. Our next, looking at the time, our next agenda item was the sustainability coordinator position. And I shared with everyone with the agenda the background on the Exeter Sustainability Office and the presentation that was provided through the Sustainability Office Advocacy Group. And I shared the job description as well, together with the information from the Select Board meeting that approved it. So the question here is, again, to vote whether we as a committee want it to be submitted for the job description for the coordinator position to be put in front of the budget committee again for the coming cycle, in the hope that it's then hopefully approved as a line item and approved by the budget committee, which we don't know. So one of the things I think, if the documentation that I shared with everyone, that would be submitted all together. And I think there probably needs to be an update on following on that presentation that was done from 2 years ago, an update on how we as a committee have been operating and what we've been able to do and not do, et cetera, and just give an update on the situation and why the information is being resubmitted for the budget committee to approve or consider. So any thoughts, comments on the situation and the suggestions?
Madam Chair, I would suggest right now the department heads are starting to prepare their budgets, so your timing is good. So whatever it is that you're going to submit, you may want to work on that between now and the July meeting.
Yeah.
So the town manager will be putting together the draft budget for the BRC sometime in September. But obviously, the sooner you can get that in. Mm-hmm. And Dave, I don't know if that would go through your budget or if it would just go to Russ directly. I mean, that's something we could talk to Russ about, maybe get back to you, Madam Chair.
Okay.
Dave, did you have any other thoughts?
Yeah, no, just I would kick it off to Russ. That's what I would do and see where he wants to, what he wants to do with it and the process moving forward.
Mm-hmm. Anyone else had any comments or points to make on the documents that were shared and how, or if there's any additional information we should submit specifically?
Madam Chair, once you're ready for prime time with that too, I'm happy to work with you to facilitate getting that to Russ.
Okay.
Helping you follow.
So, can I motion to vote for the next steps?
I can motion if you can't motion.
I'll second.
Okay. And vote please for taking the information for the position towards submitting to the budget committee.
Aye, yes.
Yes, Jackie.
Kristen, yes.
And yes from me as well. Thank you, everyone. That's great. All right. Any other business? Anyone? Nope. All right. Well, thank you, everyone, for your time. It's 8:38. Our next meeting is 6th of July. So after the holiday, 4th of July weekend, and I wish everyone a wonderful 4th of July, and see everyone on the 6th. Right.
Thanks, Jen.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Good
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night.
Hope for better weather on the 4th than we had for Memorial.
Week. Yes. All right. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Good night.
Night.